there is a moment where you inevitably become vulnerable.
And that's why this is going to be a very, very, very interesting and entertaining fight. And I'm grateful that this fight is happening.
Everything he wants, a kind of reputation that...
I'm saying that Canelo is, he's only 34, but he's an older version of him.
From both fighters, I don't care how long you've been doing this sport, I don't care how long you're gonna have some damn anxiety.
Undisputed title. It doesn't get any bigger than this.
The stare-down between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez has fans on edge, convinced this mega fight is about to explode into one of boxing's biggest battles ever. The two champions stood in front of the iconic Bellagio fountains, locked in an intense stare-down that set the tone for their September 13th showdown at Allegiant Stadium. The atmosphere was electric as both fighters showed no signs of backing down. Meanwhile, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson revealed that Canelo Alvarez is his favorite fighter in the sport of boxing. Johnson pointed out that Canelo only began making massive improvements in his game after his loss to Floyd Mayweather, noting that the defeat forced him to elevate his skills and evolve into the champion he is today.
I'm super excited about this fight because Canelo Alvarez has probably been one of my favorite boxers to watch in my time. I got into combat sports a bit later in life. Didn't really grow up watching Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, but Canelo Alvarez has been one of my favorite boxers to watch. His body work, his head movement, and the biggest thing is that Canelo didn't get better until he lost to Floyd Mayweather. In boxing, he came down a weight class, drained, couldn't rehydrate like he could, but he learned a lot from this fight because Mayweather was able to show him that you don't need to be a brute in order to beat somebody. You just got to be very technical.
Building in that, Demetrius later broke down Canelo's fighting style, referencing the devastating knockout of Amir Khan as an example. He explained how Canelo's timing, patience, and ability to set traps make him such a dangerous opponent, noting that moments like that showcase why Canelo is regarded as one of the most lethal finishers in boxing.
Later after he fought Floyd, it was like he'll come to the edge of the void, sit here with an XY, X, Y, and then once something comes, the head movement will start to go. The head will start to go wherever it needs to, and his feet will move either in or move out. And then when it moves in and the guy's still throwing, he'll start throwing body back to the head, or he'll back out and he'll move and re-engage again, or he'll throw a right hand if he sees that an opening's there, and he will get to the punch before the punch lands at him. Right there. So we're gonna get Terence Crawford taking on Canelo Alvarez. I cannot wait. This was a treat to watch, just to look at his body work and pop, how he's beating people up.
Adding to that, the legendary Nonito Donaire, full of excitement, joked that they might as well have thrown Alexander Usyk into the mix to create a true pound-for-pound Royal Rumble, with the top three fighters going at each other. Shifting to the fight itself, Donaire noted that Canelo has been competing at 168 pounds for a long time and remains undefeated in the division. He emphasized that Canelo carries the body, power, and experience perfectly suited for the super middleweight.
I think we should have done Usyk in there too. All three of them Royal Rumble, baby. Canelo's been in this weight for a very long time, and he's gained that body, that experience. He has the power. He has the accolades to show it all off too. And of course, with Terrence, I believe is the more skillful fighter. But he's going up a lot of weight classes to get there. He's never fought in 160. So that's a question. Is that weight really gonna affect him or not?
However, Donaire added that the real test will come once Terence Crawford steps inside the ring, where it will be revealed if he can truly handle the weight at 168 pounds. He questioned whether Crawford will be able to absorb Canelo's power, or if taking a clean shot will make him second-guess the entire move up in weight. According to Donaire, this truly is a 50-50 fight.
The moment he gets hit in the arm or anything like that, is he gonna think otherwise? That's the question. But when it comes down to it, the way they are, Crawford is very skillful. He's very talented. He can box, he can brawl, he can do anything. But then Canelo also has that power to neutralize things. But he's always had problem with people who walks or runs around him or moves around him. So that's the question that I have to give it a 50-50 because I give Canelo the power, the leverage in this weight, but then I give the skills and the talent and the speed to Crawford. And that's why this is going to be a very, very, very interesting and entertaining fight. And I'm grateful that this fight is happening.
At the same time, Donaire acknowledged Crawford's incredible skill set, but pointed out that Canelo has the ability to neutralize those skills, making the matchup all the more intriguing.
When you get used to the weight, and you know, he said it himself, when you get used to that weight, and the muscle is triggered, that fast twitch muscle is triggered, your body starts to adapt to that. And as long as he has the adaptability, you know, physically going into this fight, he'll be able to move around the way he does. He might get tired faster. I'm not sure. I don't know. We've never seen it, right? But the skill that we've seen, you cannot take that out of the equation. And that's why I did it the way I look at the fight, because if he's slower, yes, it's definitely Canelo. But if he has that speed, definitely Crawford, right? Because he's going to be able to feint here, move around.
Echoing the tactical perspective, Coach Teddy Atlas stated that at the end of the day, this fight could turn out to be a hell of a battle, but only time will tell. He noted the changes in both fighters, claiming and pointing out that Canelo is not as busy as he once was. In some ways, Atlas explained that has actually worked in Canelo's favor.
At the end of the day, I think it's going to be, it is an interesting fight. I think it could be a hell of a fight, but we'll see. Canelo, when I handicap this fight, I look at it where has each guy changed? What's their strengths, what their weaknesses? Canelo is not as busy as he used to be. Now, in some ways, it served him like a fine wine getting better. You know, he picks his spots, he counter punches, you know, he carries good power, he's accurate.
Expanding on that thought, Teddy stated that Canelo no longer wastes energy, carefully planning his steps and setting traps for his opponents. However, Teddy Atlas speculated whether that approach would be effective against Crawford, who is quicker on his feet and more versatile in his movements.
Moving up in weight, who's faster, who can maneuver, use his legs. I know he's 37, but he's not used up. He doesn't have a lot of miles on the odometer, Crawford. So I'm looking for my synopsis of it. My overview would be I'm looking for Crawford to win the outside. Use his length. I know he's still got good length on him. Use his length, use his legs a little bit, grab the canvas. He's not gonna run, but just control space, get angles, be ready to punch.
Furthermore, he added that despite being older, Crawford still carries the speed and maneuverability that could offset Canelo's calculated style.
Don't allow Canelo to freely walk in. And where I think he gets served is that, again, Canelo's feet aren't that fast. Why did he lose to Mayweather a long time ago? I know it was a million years ago. I know. But it wasn't because his hands were too slow. His feet were too slow. He couldn't close the gaps fast enough. And I think he's going to have a problem in that same area, if I'm right.
And sharing a similar sentiment, Chris Algieri stated that although Canelo Alvarez is only 34, he's very much an older version of himself.
Do that, but you got to understand that Canelo is, he's only 34, but he's an older version of himself. And you see this a lot with guys as they age.
Additionally, Chris pointed out that fans have not seen Canelo score a knockout in quite some time, but emphasized that Canelo remains a true 168-pounder, unlike Terence Crawford, who's moving up in weight. Algieri stressed that Canelo will definitely carry a clear size advantage into the fight.
I think we're seeing that with Canelo, this version of Canelo Alvarez. But he's still a true 168-pounder. He's still got very fast hands. He's very explosive. He is a good puncher. He knocks all these guys down, so obviously he has the respect to hit bigger bodies, and he's fought as high as 75. So he's definitely going to have that size advantage. And a guy like Crawford is coming up so many weight classes. And it's not like he's coming up from his first weight class. He's coming up from his fourth weight class, and then he's jumping 2 weight classes. So the size difference is going to be there. They got different size structure, like body structure, their bones. Crawford's got to be really careful, even getting hit on the arms and the shoulders and the hips, where we've seen Canelo actually damage guys. Think of the Callum Smith fight, where he's punching him in the arm. He's really deaded that left hook, which is his best weapon. So that's where that comes into play in terms of the size, even though Canelo isn't that knockout puncher like he used to be.
The weight seemed to be a problem. Now we're jumping up 2 more weight classes with a guy who's very strong. Canelo's a very physically strong guy. So, are those, issues that we saw with the weight, at 54 not going to be an issue at 168. I mean, it's impossible not to think that. So yeah, you can't wipe that from the memory, and you shouldn't. But my pushback on that is like exactly what you said. Madrimov is a very, very different fighter than Canelo, and stylistically is more difficult to deal with than Canelo because he moves, he's tricky, he's fluid, he's got great push and pull. He's got good footwork. Canelo's a stationary guy. He walks at you. He makes the ring very, very small, but he's not a mover. He's not going to be using a lateral movement. He's going to come right at you, and he's going to try and make the ring small and in corner.
Surprisingly, Roy Jones Jr. stated that he doesn't see the weight as a big issue for Terence Crawford. He explained that in the past, Crawford used to cut down all the way to 147, but now he's building up naturally and then trimming down to 168, which is much more manageable. Jones pointed out that Crawford had already moved up to 168 before even starting his training camp, and now his body fully understands the process, making the transition smoother.
I don't think the weight is going to be a factor at all, mainly because what you just said. When you, especially for him, when you have to boil down to 47, he's coming from 75 or 80. He going to have to boil down to 68 now. You understand me? Because I'm sure he went above 68 before he started training. So it's like, when you got to boil down to whatever, you're still boiling down. That boiling down process, your body understands. Once your body starts to realize or understand what you're doing, your body knows where to go right away. You understand me? When you see your opponent, your body knows right then where we going. You understand? So your body's like, when I would get to a press conference, like before the fight started, like the initial press conference we have, the initial press conference, my body changes.
On the other hand, journalist John Zettel acknowledged that Crawford certainly has a chance in this fight, but ultimately, he is siding with Canelo. He noted that even if Crawford delivers the best performance of his career, he still believes Canelo will come out on top. Zettel added that Crawford could surprise Canelo with his tactical approach, pointing out that since Canelo is a counterpuncher, there are plenty of things Crawford might execute that Canelo will not see coming.
Don't say I didn't see it coming. I see it coming. I'm just picking Canelo. I could not only see Crawford winning, I could see, Crawford putting together a masterpiece and the body punching being the X factor, but him surprising Canelo in the world with his tactics and being a little bit more aggressive, taking more chances than people think he would, and then the power surprising Canelo, especially since he's a counterpuncher. It would be shots that Canelo doesn't see coming, like he's used to being able to do, and that's the shots that can get him, especially again if he touches the body with something.
Interestingly, Andre Ward stated that Terence Crawford will stand his ground against Canelo Alvarez, emphasizing that Crawford hates losing and will do everything in his power to hold his position. Ward added that Crawford does not even like being labeled a smaller man, which is why he worked so hard on his physique. He also pointed out how Crawford walked up on Canelo during the press conference to send a subtle message that he's not as undersized as people make him out to be.
Given the weight disparity, given their mentality, this fight is in a class by itself, and I just think that we're going to have high-level boxing because every punch is going to matter, because Terrence does not want to lose to Canelo Alvarez and vice versa, but they're going to stand their ground at some point in time. Canelo wants to prove that I am the bigger man, and Crawford doesn't appreciate being called the smaller man, which is why you saw him press up on Canelo at the press conference to send a subtle, not so subtle message that you're not as big as everybody's saying you are. So I think it's going to be a great fight that's going to stand alone.
Additionally, Ward pointed out that Terence Crawford holds a unique advantage over Canelo Alvarez that few are talking about. He explained that Crawford has been preparing for one fight, while Canelo has essentially been preparing for two, since he does not know whether Crawford will fight in the orthodox stance or switch to southpaw. Ward highlighted that Crawford's ability to switch seamlessly between styles gives him a huge edge going into this matchup.
A few of the things are the things that we see, the tangibles. Skill set. Like, Terrence wants to fight before he boxes, but we've seen him box. I think one advantage he has that's not being talked about enough is that Canelo Alvarez has been preparing for two different fighters. Terence Crawford has been preparing for one. You don't know if he's going left-handed or right-handed. That starts to weigh on you throughout camp because you just don't know. Even throughout the course of the fight, he can easily switch. I've had success. Canelo could be having success with Crawford being in the right-handed stance, and all of a sudden now I'm fighting southpaw. So that's a huge advantage for Terence Crawford. But I think what it really boils down to is the stuff you can't see. I think it's extreme competitiveness. And for guys that are competitive, it's like win or die.
Building on that, Fernando Vargas Jr. praised Terence Crawford, stating that Crawford is skilled enough to compete in any generation within his weight class. However, he admitted that his pick is Canelo Alvarez, explaining that his choice is based on Canelo's resume and the level of fights Canelo has been in throughout his career.
I just see Canelo, it's his resume. You know, he's going into this fight, he's fought, Cotto, he's fought Mayweather, he's fought all these different fighters, Trout, former world champions that give him that mental edge. Whether people say that he's on his decline or not, this is what I think makes it a more competitive fight. You got Bud, where it's always respect whenever we see the champ Bud. It's all love and respect. But I just feel his skills, he can fight in any generation in his respective weight class, I feel. Terence Crawford, I've had the opportunity to spar with him. Very crafty in there. I did.
How did that go?
It went good.
Yeah?
It went real good. I went in there, I believe he was getting ready for Earl Spence.
Meanwhile, Tim Bradley Jr. stated that no matter how long Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford have been in the ring, this fight is bound to make both of them feel anxious, especially since it's fight week. He explained that the pressure will weigh heavily on each man given the magnitude of the event.
Full of anxiety. Shoot, from both fighters. I don't care how long you've been doing this sport. I don't care how long you're gonna have some damn anxiety. That's for damn sure. It's gonna be heavy on your conscience as well. Let me see if I can live for y'all. Let me make it live for y'all like the preacher at the church make it live.
However, Bradley also lifted both fighters' spirits, offering words of motivation and respect for their willingness to take on such a massive challenge.
The fight could be won and actually lost at this moment right here. Psychologically, man, there's a lot of pressure on you. Yeah, look, you got all the media questions you got to answer. You know, it starts to get to you. That's what happened. It starts to get to you. I know these guys are true professionals. They're true believers in their craft. I don't think this is going to happen to them. However, I'm just saying generally, this is what happens to a fighter. That doubt starts to creep in, right? It does, and you got to battle against that, man. You got to know that you are absolutely ready for this fight.
In contrast, William Skull downplayed the aura surrounding Canelo Alvarez, stating that while Canelo is a legendary fighter, he does not possess the kind of frightening power that can completely demolish opponents. Skull explained that Canelo's power is strong, but it is not something a skilled and composed fighter cannot handle.
Lo sentí fuerte, ¿no? Pero no, normal, porque es fuerte. Es un boxeador que es fuerte porque recibió algunos golpes que le conecté y también cuando bloqueaba también me sentía la potencia, pero no era algo que te asuste, como que no, boxeador creo que una leyenda, pero no es una gran potencia esa que te pueda demoler.
At this point, all the talk, all the analysis, and all the speculation only fuel the fire. The stage is set for September 13th at Allegiant Stadium, where Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez will finally settle it inside the ring. With legends, analysts, and fighters split down the middle, the only certainty is that this mega fight promises to deliver drama, intensity, and a battle that could define both men's legacies. Now hit that like and subscribe buttons, because we have a lot more updates coming every day till fight night.